Valentine's Day is coming up. I figured considering I got nothing to worry about on Valentine's Day, no expensive teddy bears to buy, no expensive chocolates to get, and no expensive flowers, why not instead make a Thunder Quickies for the channel? Goddess of Love. Before anyone jumps to quick conclusions, this isn't about some ancient goddess or anything, it's just the name of the film. Quick summary on this movie, Goddess of Love is about a stripper named Venus. She meets some guy at a strip club named Brian and they basically fall in love. Brian just suddenly stops falling in love with Venus and that turns Venus into some serial killer, judging by the cover here. I thought when watching this movie there was a number of confusing scenes that either just didn't add up or just did not need to be in this movie. These plot holes show up and they get forgotten about until the story I guess remembers it. For example, we know that Venus is a stripper. I mean, it's the first thing that's introduced to us in this movie. However, the directors just decided to toss it to the side and oh look, she's a stripper again. Okay fine, she has a love interest, cool, but did they really just hire her back like that so quick? Or do the people not care that she doesn't show up? Or even in the ending where Venus causes a scene, but it turns out that it was all mixed up. Also, were there any questioning by Brian about Venus being a stripper after they started dating? Or was he just okay with it? It's all just speculation because the movie never really touches on this. Stuff like this is left untouched throughout the movie and makes a confusing watching experience. Usually when you're confused about watching a movie, you eventually figure things out by the end. For me, a movie that does this right is Everything Everywhere All at Once. The first time watching this movie, I'll be honest, it was confusing. What this movie does well, however, is it gets more clear by the end. The information is presented to you which ties into the confusing parts of the movie. That's what it should mean when someone says, you need to rewatch the movie to have a better understanding. Because now, you have information after watching the movie the first time around and you can go into a second viewing knowing the movie better. Here in this movie, confusion will start and it only gets worse the longer this movie goes on. I do like the musical scoring in this movie when it came down to those intense scenes. I thought they got it right in some scenes. Other than that, the rest of the scoring in this movie is rather forgettable and for a thriller horror movie, it's a little disappointing. The movie consistently shows off knives all throughout, meaning you are expecting some kill scene to happen and anticipating that intense climatic scene. However, it's practically a letdown in the end and it leaves it completely forgettable, which doesn't help when this movie is already confusing enough. The payoff is small, not only that but the storyline and pacing is very unnatural. Venus' first day on the job and she falls in love extremely quick. Okay then, I guess she's able to pull off becoming a stripper first day on the job? The acting is majority of the times extremely awkward. Never did I feel like I was in this movie. Everything just felt bland. When it did try to feel intense, it just felt laughably forced. I'll give you an example. There's a scene where Venus walks out angrily and throughout this entire scene, it just looks as if she's purposely running into people rather than the other way around. Oh look, I'm standing right in front of you. Now get out. I took a look at Elizabeth Sandy as she had won an award for this film. Okay fine, it was no Oscar award or anything, but it's something I guess. When looking at her acting, she had her moments, although is it enough to save this movie? Not really. Majority of this movie still felt monotone. What are some positives in this movie, you may ask? I guess there's some positive payoff in this movie. We don't really see Brian, aka the boyfriend's perspective, so having the payoff with him in the end is I guess rewarding. He's a piece of shit, and you get to see him at the end of the stick. The problem is this movie is edited so weirdly that the payoff is forgotten. Close-ups I thought were done well in this movie. There wasn't any iconic shot that I found, but there were a couple shots I thought, okay, this isn't bad. The few bits in this movie where I thought there was some emphasis and some chaotic acting, I thought they were some of the brighter moments in this movie. I think the part where Venus has a breakdown inside her place is one good example. The use of fast transitions and the music to go along with it is done well. That's about it really. I wouldn't watch this movie again, but at the same time it's not horribly done to the point where it's unwatchable. And I'm giving this movie a 4 out of 10. Now just for some quick background context, I made a review on this movie back for a college assignment. Considering this is a love movie and we are leaning closer to Valentine's, I'd figure making a video for this as I got some stuff written down on this movie.